Welcome students, this is the last and 10th part of the interpreter of Maladies. When they found him a little farther down the path under a tree, he was surrounded by a group of monkeys, over a dozen of them pulling at his t-shirt with their long black fingers. The puffed rice Mrs. Das had spilled with scattered at his feet, raked over by the monkey's hand. The boy was silent, his body frozen, swift tears turning down his startled face. His bare legs were dusty and red with welts from where one of the monkeys struck him repeatedly with the stick he had given to it earlier. In the ninth part, they are searching for Bobby and wandering up and down. At last, they found him and surrounded by a group of monkeys, over a dozen of them, pulling at his t-shirt with their long black fingers. The puffed rice spilled by Mrs. Das, causing of monkeys surrounded Bobby. Bobby frozen and became silent, and swift tears running down his startled face. His bare legs became dusty and red with welts from where one of the monkeys struck him repeatedly with the stick he had given to it earlier. Daddy, monkey's hurting Bobby, Tina said. Mr. Das wiped his palms on front of his shorts. In his nervousness, he accidentally pressed the shutters on his camera. The whirling noise of the advancing film excited the monkeys, and the one with the stick began to beat Bobby more intently. What are we supposed to do? What if they start talking? Mr. Kapasi, Mrs. Das shrieked, noticing him standing to one side. Do something, for God's sakes, do something. Tina said that monkey is hurting Bobby. Mr. Das whipped him his palms on front of his shirts. He accidentally pressed the camera that this advancing technology of the film excited with the exorbitant sound. The monkeys they began to beat Bobby more intensely with the sticks because of this camera's excited sound. Mr. Das shrieked that Mr. Kapasi, do something, for God's sake, do something. Do something, for God's sake, do something. Mr. Kapasi took his branch and shot them away, hissing at his ones that reminded, stamping his feet to scare them. The animals retreated slowly with a measured gait. Obedient but unintimidated, Mr. Kapasi gathered Bobby in his arms and brought him back to where his parents and the siblings were standing. As he carried him, he was tempted to whisper a secret into the boy's ear, but Bobby was stunned and shivering with fright, his legs bleeding slightly where the stick had broken the skin. In this passage, Mr. Kapasi made monkeys retreat slowly. Mr. Kapasi saved Bobby from monkeys and brought him back to the where his parents and siblings were standing. He wants to reveal a secret into the boy's ears, but Bobby was stunned and shivering with fright, his legs bleeding slightly where the stick had broken the skin. Mr. Kapasi delivered him to his parents. Mr. Das broke the skin. When Mr. Kapasi delivered him to his parents, Mr. Das brushed some dirt off the boy's t-shirt and put the visor on him the right way. Mrs. Das reached into her straw bag to find a bandage, which she tapped over the cut of his knee. Ronnie offered his brother a fresh piece of gum. He is fine, just a little scared. Right, Bobby? Mr. Das said, patting the top of his head. God, let us get out of here, Mrs. Das said. She folded her arms across the strawberry on her chest. This place gives me the creeps. Mr. Kapasi delivered him to his parents. Mr. Das brushed some dirt off boy's t-shirt and put the visor on him right way. Mrs. Das taped the bandage over the cut on his knee. Ronnie offered his brother a fresh piece of gum. Mrs. Das prayed God, get out of that place. She afraid that place gives the creeps. He back to the hotel. Definitely, Mr. Das agreed. Poor Bobby. Mrs. Das said, "Come here a second. Let mommy fix your hair." Again, she reached into her straw bag, this time for her hairbrush, and began to run it around the edges of a translucent visor. When she whipped out of the hairbrush, the slip of paper with Mr. Capasi's address on it fluttered away in the wind. No one but Mr. Capasi noticed. He watched as it rose, carried higher and higher. They went back to the hotel. In order to dress her hair again, she reached into her straw bag, this time for her hairbrush. When she whipped out of the hairbrush, the slip of paper with Capasi's address on it fluttered away in the wind. In the wind. No one but Capasi noticed. He watched as it rose, carried higher and higher by the breeze into the trees where the monkeys now sat. Solemnly observing the scene below, Mr. Capasi observed it too, knowing that this was the picture of the Das family he would preserve forever in his mind. Capasi noticed that this, which is the his address on the slip. He watched it. The slip is fluttered away in the wind. He watched it rose carried higher and higher by the breeze into the trees where the monkeys now sat. The Capasi observed it too, knowing that this was the picture of the family he would preserve forever in his mind. He wants to preserve in his mind. It is a sweet memory for his. This is the end of our short story, The Interpreter of Maladies. Thank you.